All right, here we go. All right. Here we are. All right, I'm jumping right in. For anyone who saw the stream on Saturday, I'm picking up essentially there. But I did actually do one thing after the stream. Later in the day on Saturday, I worked on it a bit more. And I did end up getting the read file one working, Bleak Basic read file. What I ended up doing, so for anyone who did watch the previous stream, where I left off was small files worked fine, but files where you declared the chunk size smaller than, well, super small files worked fine even when you declare it. So you would declare a chunk size that's bigger than the file, and then it would just return to you the whole file in one response. The other thing I did figure out on Saturday is that there's kind of two concepts of chunks. Like chunks, I was not aware before, but there's actually one concept of chunk is the client tells the server, hey, I would like chunks of this size. And the server will send you back a certain number of responses, adding up to the chunk size you asked for. And then there's another concept, which I actually originally thought was what chunk was talking about, were those individual responses. So like you receive a response and it has X amount of bytes in it. I was thinking those bytes in that response, I was thinking that's a chunk. But that's not actually the case. That's just a response, I guess, or I'm not even really sure if it's a response. It's kind of a, like, both sides are reading kind of a thing going on, or you send one thing that's a command and then you read another place or something, but it's like, anyway, we figured that out on Saturday, and where I left off was files that were bigger than the chunk size. I started trying to download a file that was like 10K, and it was not working correctly. It was like messing up at the 1024th byte, basically. Like when it was trying to read the second and beyond chunks, those were not working correctly. What I ended up doing to fix it was really, really straightforward. Just keep a counter. No, that's the wrong one. Keep a counter here, the receiving chunk index. So I just made a new variable, receiving chunk index. It starts on 0. We add 1 to it every time. Actually, I think it starts on 1. Does it start on 1 or 0? I think it starts on 1. Yeah, it starts on 1, actually. Starts on 1, and then we add 1 to it anytime that we receive a new header packet that's not the first header. So the first header doesn't count for this, but every other header does. And then we will just plus 1 on that. And then because we're keeping track of that count, that's making it so that we can then compare inside of here the amount of data that we have received in the current, I'll call it like a session, a chunk session. Like basically this code here is going to check and say, hey, have we received, because it's going to come in multiple responses, so we don't just receive it all at once, but within the multiple responses we've gotten, has all the data that we've gotten built up to be the chunk size? And if it has, then it's time to ask for new data, which is what the code inside of here is doing. So by keeping track of that number, we're able to multiply it by the chunk size so that it can correctly know at the end of each chunk when it's time to ask for the next chunk. And I did get this to successfully work to download that 10K file. And so the next thing that I'm working on is actually the integration more into CircuitPython. So I have done this. This was also off stream, but there's really not that much here. I just have a BLE backend, and I have just started the very beginning of actually creating the BLE backend. And so far, I'm working on specifically the listdir command first. And that's where I'm at, basically. We have those two kind of POC, proof of concept scripts, bleak basic listdir, bleak basic read file, and I'm going to try putting those into the backend now. BLE backend. So one thing that we will need to do is implement is device present. So when I run this right now, the way I have it set up is I'm passing the BLE. Eventually, maybe we could try like an auto discover or something, but I don't have the code for that yet. Although the code that used Blinka BLE IO was actually doing that part, so I need to figure out how that worked and do it with Bleak directly. Anyway, that'll be a different time. But the very one of the first things that happens is the backend tries calling is device present, and that fails because it's not implemented in the BLE backend. And I'm pretty sure if we take a look at the web backend, which is kind of like, I'm kind of comparing this to the web backend most directly. I'm pretty sure that it checks the version, which I did at one point have code that was checking the version. Keep missing the fold thing. I didn't remember how many of these were. All right, so web backend is device present. Turns true if the device is currently connected and running a supported version. And so specifically that is hitting the version JSON, confirming that the version it found was at least 4. So we could basically do the same thing. We could basically do the same thing for BLE. There is a get version, although get version, that's like get device version. That's the version of CircuitPython. Get CircuitPython version. Okay. Might be worth having a get workflow API version. I mean, the disk backend doesn't have one. I don't know. Device present. Thing though, I don't remember. Okay. See what this does. Failed to discover. Okay, so that one happens sometimes. The way I was fixing that. Oh, I am playing with Bluetooth Fire here too, because I'm actually using my headset. Okay. All right, let's copy that. This is not the model number UUID. This is the workflow version UUID, which I almost want to use the word characteristic. I'm pretty sure it's a characteristic ID. Maybe, what if we, well, version characteristic isn't good because we have the workflow version, we have the CircuitPython version. Makes it very wordy, but I'm gonna add that workflow version characteristic. Maybe we don't even want the UUID at that point. Although the other code has it called UUID. That's fine. Well, actually this was sample code that came from Bleak. Okay, so we have the characteristic, we just do the read. Well, it's doing a pair. So did I have, is this read file, does this one still pair too, or did I? It does, okay. I wonder what determines like why or when it fails when I need to remove it from there. Like it said services not discovered, disconnected. All I did is remove it and then it started working. But like I could run it again and it will work again, I think. Maybe not. Okay, well that's a different one though. So usually when I get that one, the way I can fix it is if I just click onto these, which kind of makes this thing refresh or something, I don't know. Well, it's kind of weird that this thing actually stopped. Got a timeout error. So we will, actually, eventually we'll want that timeout. So, I mean, I could remove it again, I guess? But if it doesn't work unless I manually remove it, then it's not going to work inside a circuit, really. Timeout error. Is this like appreciably different from this? Weak client, client address, main, pair. Most of that's basically the same. Okay. Hmm. So, not had it be quite this broken before. So I'll try double reset into the blue. Why does this not reconnect? Oh. Okay, this is really slow for some reason. Okay. Worked once. Okay. Seems like we broke it by reading it. I wonder if I should use notify? Notify is what we use for the file transfers. This is a different thing. Seems like this code might be doing the read or the disconnect or something. Something about this code is wrong. And it's causing the microcontroller to get into a broken state. And this particular broken state is a little bit different than these are the ones I've run across before. Or I should say it's not fixed by any of the same things. That's not entirely true, I guess, because the reset fixed it, seemingly. We need to figure out. Yeah, it's just gone for some reason. I mean, is it a location? I mean, but it works, and I'm not moving it, so it's like be the location. Is the distance maybe, or were we just right on the... It's like in the same place it was for all the rest of my testing. I mean, now it's closer. Okay, well now it's closer and it seems to be working, so... Alright. So I was just on the edge, and I don't know why the first one worked, but the next one didn't. But I mean, I also thought once you paired the range supposed to be bigger? I don't really know how the range works. Okay, and so here's where some of This is gonna get kind of interesting. This does not currently make use of async IO at all. No idea. Not sure this is gonna really work to call async functions like this. I probably don't want to call it main. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it check version, I guess, for now. Okay, so we do. So address we're gonna store on the device. The rest of these backends, they have a device location. I'm almost thinking maybe we store the MAC address in device location. It's kind of the closest concept we have. Set that to the BLE MAC. Is device present? It's gonna run that, and then the address we're gonna do is device location. And this version API version. But I think, does that need a wait? And then are you even allowed to do that from a non-async function? Because is device present is non-async. Okay, and then we also, so that's going to get the version, and then after we get the version, we want to basically turn true or false based on effectively the same thing as this. We call it the BLE API version. Oops. Uh-oh. That was weird. Okay. Okay, so we'll do the same thing there, and then we will return true if we made it to there. So that should be everything for, yeah. So await outside of async function. So we need to figure out a way. I mean, if I just make that async, then it doesn't work because you would have to await the call to it. So we need, like, isn't there like sync to async? I know most of my experience with async IO is with Django channels. Or async to sync, I guess we would want. I don't know if that's like a concept specific to Django? Yeah. No, not while it continues, while it waits. Just use async IO run inside of a synchronous function. I did do that though. Are we not supposed to await? I thought we had to await. Okay. No, yeah, I think that actually worked. I mean, it didn't find the device. I guess I'm gonna put this even closer to the antennas. See if that is any better. So we have some extra stuff being printed here. That's not super duper related to what we're doing. Just back to failing. Let's see if we do this. Okay. I think that succeeded. I don't know why we printed class byte array. But yeah, we successfully passed the isDevicePresent, and we made it on to actually calling lister, which is good. I did return this, I guess, is that, but that's just a list. That wouldn't be byte array. We got running ls. So we should fix this to not print host whenever we pass the BLE. Using web workflow false, we could take that to, I don't think we need to print that necessarily. Class byte array. So this is in main. Using web workflow. Logger.info. Some of this is old references from before we had the name. don't know where that came from. I mean, it must be like printing a type, right? Type? Anybody? Are we printing a type? Why does that? Oh, I'm on this regex. Type model number. Oh, yeah. Okay, fair enough. So we shouldn't call it model number either. It's actually the BLE API version number. Well, it's actually the data blob that contains the, but. Okay, so then we made it all the way to printing lister, which is the only thing so far that is inside of the BLE backend lister, and it returned an empty list, which it then tried to loop through. But obviously it was empty, so looping through it didn't actually do anything. And it's trying to loop through it, and it's trying to say cur file, file size, cur file name, if cur file directory. So we need to end up with a list of dictionaries that have file size, name, directory. Which we don't. We have access to that information with our proof of concept here, but we don't have like exactly that data exact. We will want this transfer ID. This can be in the back end. I'm gonna put that here. I'm gonna take the value also. We're going to take all of these things. We are going to take incoming data buffer, I think. Receive data none. Receive data, we probably... receive data, so that should have a better name, and I think the name should be like previous packet, because the purpose of that is comparing the incoming data with the previous data to ignore duplicates. So I found I was getting duplicates. So previous packet, we would check it against the current packet. I don't know if packet's the right term, but in my head it works. And then this we do want, but I'm going to put it on self. So instead of saying inc data buffer here, we're going to say self dot inc data buffer equals a byte array, and it's empty. I don't know if you can append to it. Does it? I'm pretty sure byte array has a fixed size, so it's going to get redeclared later, but we know we're going to want it at least. And then I'll say self dot previous data packet equals none. All right. And obviously this code is all sorts of, got a bunch of extra crap in it, so I will try to go about cleaning it while I bring it over. Okay, so inside lister, just bump that stuff down. Let's bring this in. We can rename this one, so that's not going to be async main, that's going to be async you know what? I think I actually want to call all of these like BLE whatever. So it's going to be like BLE check version, BLE lister, And then we're going to end up calling that BLE lister without awaiting. But we'll need it to return some stuff currently. Ooh, returning is going to, well, yeah, returning is going to be tricky. We're going to have to figure it out, though. Somehow we're going to have to figure it out. It's going to be tricky. Really backend dot. So, callback handler. Lister. So these are all just constants now. Struct pack 5. Why did we pack a 5 into that? Lister 5. 5 is, what is 5? Bytes? Any? Why did I put a 5 in that? Is that hard-coded? 4. Path length. Right. And I was doing /lib/. Yeah. So we should dynamically figure that out from the length of the dir path. Length of dir path, which will default to the root, I assume, although it doesn't actually have a default there, so I guess we'll leave it without. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. That is a backend dot, BLE backend dot. Encoded, so instead of lib, we're going to do dir path. Dir path, there we go, very good. Okay. Now we will need to bring in callback handler, which itself calls attempt parse entries. Okay, so callback handler. Okay, so some things do get a little bit better. We actually don't need globals for everything here. So receive data, that's no longer global. That's actually just, we called that self.previous data packet. So now we can check on that without using globals. This has paths, which I don't think we need that to be global. In the old code, that was just an empty list, and then we stored the result from attempt parsed entries into it. So it got declared as an empty list, got destroyed as an empty list, it got redeclared as the response from whatever this gave, the return. But there's no need to really have the globals one, and ultimately lister, we are in the backends here, so lister, this lister is going to return the list, and then ls_cli is going to loop over the list and print the results out. But no part of that necessarily really needs a global list, because it's going to get returned from this, it's going to get returned from this, and it's going to look through it after that. Should be fine. Okay. Expected entries. Okay, that's a number that represents how many how many entries we're expecting to find within the lister response. It was global before because inside of here it was setting it, and then it's using that number to know when it's at the end of the lister response, basically, because the way you know you're done receiving lister information is when you have received the number of entries that you were expecting. I think the easiest thing to do there is just make another self dot, expected entries, and we'll start that on none. Inc data buffer we have on self as well, so we can get self.inc data buffer. Callback handler is data. Can get rid of all of these. Okay, receive notify callback with data. I'll leave that for now, but eventually we'll take that out. That's saying receive data equals data, so receive data, that's actually our self.previous data packet. Add that to inc buffer. We attempt to parse. If success, that's printing all the paths. So what we would be doing here ultimately is we need to signal to this parent function that we're done and like return the resulting list from here. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but because we don't really want to return from callback handler, because we're not the one who called callback handler. Callback handler got called whenever new data came in because we called start notify right here, and we gave it callback handler. So we're not the ones calling this, therefore we're not going to be able to get the result from it, which means somehow we need a scheme that when this is successful, we need to somehow signal to lister that it's time to respond. I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. BRB. Okay. Uno momento, por favor. Okay. Sorry for the brief intermission. We are coming back right about meow. Okay. Yeah, attempt to parse entries. I guess let's bring this in. We have to be figuring out how the return is gonna work with this, but I'll start by just grabbing the whole thing. The first things I'm gonna do is delete some stuff, I think, though. Okay, so one thing worth noting, this one's not async, actually. I am surprised this doesn't say globals, right? This should be globals expected entries. But I guess because it's getting set here... Oh, okay, I get it. It's getting set, so we don't even really need that to be on self, actually, because the only time we care about the expected entries is inside of this function. Nothing outside this function cares about it. And this function's going to get called multiple times, so at first thought, it seems to make sense to store that value on self or in a global or somewhere so that between two different calls to this function, we actually retain the value. But that's not necessary because where this value comes from is at the beginning of the data buffer, and every time this gets called, we're always starting our parsing from the beginning. So we're always just recalculating it, basically. We're rereading it, the expected entries. So we don't need that. We do not need that on self at all, I don't think. There's really no time in between where anything cares about it. So we create that, it's on 0. It is odd that value is not used. I mean, is it just saying the value is not used, like I put it to 0 and then we didn't use it before we set it to something else? So like a lot of these are not used. They just get instantly set by this thing. Okay. Expected entries. Can keep that print for now, but I will probably get rid of it eventually. While found entries less than equals expected entries, offset, header size, encoded path, path read. Not sure why this was length incoming data buffer. Really, when it's inside of here, it should have actually been length data buffer, I think. Which is going to be incoming data buffer, so it get passes to it, but... Another place where it's using... Hold on. Yeah, we're getting past data buffer. I don't know why this in here. These should be using data buffer. The one question is, do we want any of this stuff? Which, honestly, the answer is, yeah, we probably do. I'm going to leave it commented out for now because I don't know the best way to do it. Because the thing is, well, if we raise, that's easy enough. I mean, I guess we could raise there as well, potentially. I mean, I would think we would raise in the case of these two, and then on this one, we definitely don't need that one, because that's actually just been changed to this, basically. Okay, so that is saying paths.append, which before that was trying to use paths like a global variable paths, but the truth is we could just make paths as an empty list in here and append to it and then return it when we're done, which we are in fact already doing. Okay, so that is now self incoming data buffer. So every time callback handler gets called, we check to make sure that the incoming packet is not the same as the one we got last time, and if it is, we ignore it. If it's not the same, though, if it's actually different, new data, we set it in the previous data packet, we add it to the incoming data buffer, we call attempt parse entries on that incoming data buffer, which is going to effectively read the first 16 bytes as the first header, which will allow it to figure out how many files it's expecting, how many entries, they call them, how many entries it's expecting. Then we loop through the rest of the content, basically, until we have found the number of entries we're expecting, parsing each one out as we go and adding them to this paths list. And then when we have made it to the expected number of entries, we return true and paths, which will get set to here and then cause this code to go on. So if success, that's looping the paths. We don't really need to loop them, I don't think. Really what we need to do is we need to get lister to return the list. I almost think we need like a self.ready to return or something. We set it to false. We might actually need a self.paths also, because we need a way to get that paths list out of the callback handler, because this is where that paths list is going to be. We need to get it out of there back to this context of this lister function that's on the back end, so that we can then return it from that. So I'm going to say self ready to return equals false, and then I'm going to say self dot. I'm actually just going to say return value, because I'm suspecting we're going to use this idea of needing to kind of pass this data out of the async world and back to the sync world so that it can be returned with some of the other ones as well. So we'll just get this ready with return value. We'll set that on none. And then at the very beginning of lister, we're going to say ready to return equals false, so that that will always go back to false. Callback handler here, if success was true, ready to return equals true, and return value equals paths. Okay, so here we're going to be going async IO run, BLE lister, address is device location. Should I make an address property that returns device location so that this code is a little more like correct about its verbiage? This is BLE backend, so I don't feel the need to call it a BLE address since it's in the class name. So address just returns device location. So then in the code here, we could be saying self.address so that our code is actually like, we're naming the property the same as the name of the argument to this, so it's clear what it is. No, it's technically also stored in another variable called device location. All right, so we want to run that, and then we basically just want to go while not ready to return. While not ready to return, we just loop. Whenever we are ready to return, we're gonna return value. And inside of here, we're just going to go async io.sleep a little bit. So we call lister. That's going to write the characteristic. It's going to call start notify so that we begin receiving those responses. Each time we get the response, we try to parse it. Whenever we actually were successfully done parsing the whole thing, that'll be true. That will have a list in it. We'll set return value to the list. We'll set that to true, which will make this loop stop going, which will make that get returned. Sounds good in my head. Let's see in what way that it is broken. So I know for sure one thing that will definitely be broken is if we make it that far, our list does not have dictionaries with the keys that it's expecting to find in it. Our list is like raw data. I think there's a string for the path name. There's a couple other things. There's like a number for the size. There's a bytes field that somehow tells you if it's a directory, I think. So we are back to just getting this again. So we need to maybe do one of these. Okay, there we go. There we go. What? So we found it. Uh-oh, that's not a good sign. So we found it successfully when we read the version, but then we no longer saw it when it came time to start reading the start doing the lister. I almost wonder if there's some, like, do we need to wait a little bit? Is there any, like, if we're reading the version, maybe it's still busy somehow? And again, we got past the version, though. Because I think it only prints this stuff after it gets the version. Yeah, I don't know. What if we just wait an extra second? I mean, this is succeeding, right? Inside is device present. BLE API version. I'm pretty sure that's succeeding. But then we immediately turn around and fail right afterwards. Doesn't really make any sense to me. Yeah. Oh, this time we actually got some stuff. Okay, all right. And in fact, I think we might have got everything. How's it going, Jacob McKenzie over on YouTube? What's your program? Well, I'm not entirely sure what you mean. We got a lot of programs going on, but the program I'm working on is a utility which is still under a working name, although it may eventually end up being the real name. It's called WW Shell, which stands for Wireless Workflow Shell, which is a command line utility that lets you interact with CircuitPython devices, specifically letting you manage the files on those devices. You can grab files from the device, upload files to the device, delete files, make new folders, list all the files, which is what we're working on most specifically right now, is getting the list of files. And it is all about doing it through one of the two different wireless workflows. Currently, there's a web workflow, which uses an HTTP server that runs on the microcontroller. And there's a BLE workflow, which is the one that I'm working on right now, is the BLE workflow. So we're trying to add support to WW Shell for BLE-based devices. I don't know your level of familiarity with CircuitPython or the surrounding projects or tools. If any of that doesn't make sense to you, though, or if you want me to explain more about the project broadly or anything in specific, feel free to shout in the chat. I'm happy to dive deeper if there's certain aspects that you want to hear more about. All right, so we made it to... Yeah, okay, so we made it... So yeah, I think this worked, actually, all the way up to the point that I was talking about before, where I said it's definitely going to fail when we go and try to actually read the keys out of that dictionary, because our dictionary doesn't have those keys in it. So we need to, let's print it first of all, and then see what those things are, because I don't remember exactly what is in our list. So our list is tuples with the path, the file size, the flags, and the modification time. But so flags, so we need to change that. Comment that. Let's say paths.append. We're gonna do a dictionary, so we are looking for what all. Let's get that split back there. Let's do this. Let's go to, I want to go to web backend. Lister. No, okay, we actually want this. Yeah, this is the code I'm looking for. Okay, so we're looking for a file size, a name, and a directory, which is a true false. I'm a student taking a Python class this summer. I'm at a very elementary level. I spend a lot of my free time watching guys like you, and I learn a lot. Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Feel free to subscribe if you're interested in this kind of content. I'll tell you the most typical times that I stream are on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Central Time, working on stuff, loosely related to CircuitPython. So right now we're working on this utility that lets you interact with CircuitPython devices. But other times, other weeks, other days, I'm working on other various bits of CircuitPython, either projects that run on the devices themselves, or infrastructure, or libraries, and occasionally even the core of CircuitPython itself, although I'm a little out of my depths in there. So file size, we have already. File size, that one's easy. Name, that one's also easy. Name, we have encoded path. Decode. Oops. And then directory. So somehow we need to get directory from the flags. We need to get directory from the flags. Print entry. Let's print the name of each one, and then let's print the flags of each one. While that's going, I'll also look back here. Okay, that's very easy. So a 32-bit number, bit 0, set when the entry is a directory. Set to what, though? Set to 1? Alright, we did have this problem again, though. And this time, though, it failed the version check. So this is different than what it was doing before. It didn't succeed the version check and then fail the lister. It actually failed the version check. So I'm going to try one more time. I'm expecting it to fail in the same way. Fail the version check, and then I'm going to go back and forth. Yep, it did. So I'm going to go back and forth here, which has been fixing it for me. Okay, got our version. We're now doing our lister. Nope. We did the fill to find it after the version again, though. So, I mean, wait, that really makes me think, like, there's something wrong with doing the two things. One after another. I mean, like, so there's client.pair. I mean, do we need to try an unpair? There's an unpair. Or like disconnect? I mean, there is a disconnect as well. I mean, presumably that's what the with context will do, right? I mean, that's going to call disconnect when we're done, you would think. I don't know what to, I mean... It does not seem to be as simple as you just can't do them at all. Because we eventually did succeed. But I don't know what changed the time when it succeeded. So is a longer sleep actually doing anything here? No. So that one worked. And it looks like we got our answer, which is that the first bit of flag will be 1 whenever it is a directory, and it will be a 0 when it is a file. And because bits 1 through 7 are reserved, i.e. not used, we're actually ending up with just a single 0 or 1, even though we technically have 32 bits worth of data. We want to... So I do want to still try to read the first bit somehow. I mean, technically we could just check it against 0 and 1, but we want to be a little bit future-proof if we can for when and if those padding bytes start getting used. Python get first bit of number, extracting bits from a byte. Classic approach of checking whether a bit is set is to use the binary AND operator. Okay. And when they say first bit, I think they actually mean bit at index 1, i.e. second bit? Otherwise, I don't know why this would be 1, 0 instead of just 0, B, 1. 0, B, 1, 0 is 2. So 1 and 0, B, 1, 0, 0. But 1 and 0, B, 1 is 1. And 11 and 0, B, 1 is 1. But 10 is not. Yeah, okay. So and ampersand 0, B, 1. That will be 1 if the first bit is 1. It will be 0 if the first bit is 0. And when I say first bit, I mean the bit at index 0, if you're thinking of them as indexed, but absolute first. So here, somewhere, here, we're going to go directory. That's going to be a Boolean with flags and 0b1 equals. So we want it to be true for a directory. So we're going to say equals 1. So that when it is equal to 1, it's true. Directory true. When it's equal to 0, it'll be false. Directory false, which is actually a file. Okay. Proactively do a back and forth there. So I felt like that was going to fail because it was taking a little bit longer than it normally does. Now, this one has been taking a second. It's not fast by any means. And then, we're also adding that 5-second wait. So, of course, we got this again, though. I don't know if that wait is helping because, I got it to succeed once when that was lower. Doesn't seem to be consistently helping. It has worked once, or twice, or whatever, but it's also not working every time. I'm gonna set it to 15, something kind of unbearably long. And then if that is actually having a positive effect, this must help it, and if not, then. All right. Also, I'm gonna run to the restroom while it works. BRB. Oh, it worked. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that's not even really what I wanted to see, honestly. Is that working because of the time? And if so, is there, like, could we do anything to make it not take as long? So that time we failed the version check. Hmm. Well, or what's happened? I mean, I don't really know what to try next beyond resetting the device. But usually when I get this error on the first connection, so the version check in our case that we're doing inside is device present, I was getting that error on the first connection. Usually I was fixing that by doing this back and forth, and whatever that did, like, jogged my adapter to make it work. Does not seem like that's succeeding for us right now. So I'll try resetting the microcontroller. Oh. Alright, that's actually, like, I don't even really know what to do about that, though, right? Because, like, this is so inconsistent. I don't... Alright, so we waited a long time there, too, for this. So let's see if we succeed the version, or the lister. No, we didn't. I don't know. I don't know what we do about this. Honestly, it doesn't feel consistent enough to really use, like, legitimately. So we're pretty consistent, sort of, about getting the version. Sometimes we're failing to see the advertisement. And that's its own problem that I don't really know what to do with or about. We are, for the most part, kind of mostly getting the version back, at least. So I'm going to try to focus my attention on the ones where the version succeeds and the lister fails. The ones where the version fails, the fail to advertise, to find the advertise, I don't know what I'm gonna do about that. Somehow we're gonna need to try to look long. I mean, maybe we can look again or look longer. But I'm gonna try to start on the ones where it's actually succeeding the version but then failing the lister. So I'm gonna take this back out. So it's still a little unclear to me if that was helpful or not. I mean, it seems sort of anecdotally like it was, but not all the time. So maybe sort of, kind of a little bit, but maybe not. Let's get these commented. We don't really need to be printing that stuff anymore. Alright, let's give that a try. And now I'm hoping we can... I mean, My first and primary hope is that everything just works, but if that doesn't succeed, I'm hoping we can succeed the version and fail the lister. So is there a timeout can I pass to here? There is timeout. It looks like it defaults to 10. So we do have a timeout on well, actually I don't think it's getting saved. Oh, okay. We have one where we're not saving it. Let's save it. Self.timeout equals timeout. Let's pass that along. It said 10.0. I mean, we could try a longer timeout, I guess. I mean, the only thing I can think to try besides that is going to be like explicitly calling disconnect on the client. Maybe explicitly calling client.unpair. Because I mean, we are pairing. We're trying to pair twice, which I think pair you do once, but I'm not certain really. All right, we'll try this. So I think it defaults to 10, but I'll try a longer one. But, and I also don't know though, like this last time I ran it, it raised a timeout error. Like most of the time when I run it, it does this. I'm also not sure, like was that 10 seconds? It felt like could have been, I don't know. Let's try timeout 30. I don't think that was any slower, was it? I don't think that was any slower. Let's print the time before and the time after. Print start time monotonic. Put this print at the end actually. We know we're returning true if we actually see it, so. Well, but we're not actually making it to there, are we? Okay, actually we're gonna go outside of this. Go outside of this. Just go to lister. Well, it's not in lister, it's in main. Main is in commands. Is device present? Okay, so start equals time dot monotonic. We need to try, I guess? Try? Because it's raising a leak device not found error. No module. Just print it. And then let's say print took start minus time dot monotonic. Other way around. Time dot monotonic minus start. So we save the start time, we do the thing. At the end of the thing, we subtract the current time from the start time and we print it out. If it fails, it should tell us how long it tried for. Which I don't think was 30 seconds. Interesting. Oh, right. Okay, no, it did. It only went 10 seconds, first of all. And then I was about to be like, it's interesting that it went on and actually kept going, but that's not actually true. We just caught the exception and didn't like do anything with it. We, I guess, should I guess let's take this and put one here and just re-raise it. So if it succeeds, we'll print how long it took, but if it fails, we'll print how long it took also. And then we'll raise, which means we won't go on. So it won't try to do the lister afterwards. And it totally did fail at pretty much exactly 10 seconds, so my timeout of 30 did not work. Yeah. Let's make sure. So the timeout 30 went in there. This is actually printing params, which has a timeout of 30 there. So that came through just fine. So yeah. We're not passing it here. Okay. Whoops. Are we passing that to the web workflow? Yes, okay. Okay, that was the wrong thing. Okay. It's definitely taking longer. I assume this will go for 30 seconds and then fail. Maybe the fact that it's using 30 will help it succeed the lister after the version check, if we can get it back to succeeding the version check also. Yeah, okay, now we actually did go 30 seconds. So the first thing to try to fix it is just this, back and forth there. Was working for a while. Pretty well. Okay, so that was successful and it took 7.7 seconds. We have no more sleep at the beginning of lister, but we should be still passing through the timeout of 30. Nice. So that actually succeeded. So that extra timeout, I think, and that kind of felt longer than 10 to me. Let's add the timing to the checking lister. So here, let's do the same kind of shtick, basically. Let's put that like that. We'll need try again because it can The same thing, basically. Yeah, maybe 10 seconds was too much, I guess. Like, too fast. Maybe we needed that second connection to just slow its roll a bit. And I mean, well, the first one succeeded after 7, though, last time. We need to give it another back and forth. I'm gonna give it a preempted. It says connected here, actually. Interesting. Okay, but now it says disconnected when it finally moved on. So that one took 19 seconds, and I do think that I like made it succeed by doing that. If I wouldn't have done that, I feel like it would have failed, but I have no way to prove it in hindsight. Okay, we succeeded there again, but how long? This one took, so that was 19, but that was the version. Where's our, there we go, 15 seconds on the lister. So 10 would have failed. 10 would have failed. I wonder if that timeout is just connecting, or if that also includes like does it, will it count as a timeout if it's not done transferring data after 30 seconds, but like it has connected, it's just still going? I don't know. So maybe 10 is too low. Maybe 10 is too low. Also, we should not print all of this. We have a logger, I guess. We could logger.info if we wanted. I mean, this is a lot, though. I don't necessarily see much upside in logging all of this. This is in callback handler. Yeah, and then it should print about entries, but that's only 1 or 2 things. That shouldn't be so bad. We still need to fix that found device at. That's defaulting to the default host, which is wrong. We should check if we have a BLE Mac, and if so, then say that we found it at the BLE Mac. All right, yeah, succeeded. 21 seconds though, definitely still again too long for the default of 10. So I'm almost thinking maybe 30 is a better default on that one. We defaulted to 10 for the web workflow, and that seems pretty fine for it. This is in commands. Commands main. Ooh. Wait. What? We are actually defaulting to 30. But I wasn't pass. I wasn't passing it. Okay. So the default in the click argument timeout was 30, but I was not passing that to the backend. Therefore, it was using the bleak default, which was 10. So actually, I should be able to run this without. Oh, okay. Actually, I thought I still had timeout 30 in there, but I didn't. So yeah, we should be able to run this without timeout 30. And then it should still be able to succeed if one of those things took more than 10. So that one took 7. I also don't know, though, if it counts when it connects or when it's reading data. 18 seconds. Even 30 might be pushing it, honestly. We might want to try 40. I don't know. We can stop printing that. We could log that, though. That would be a good thing to log, I guess. And then maybe another thing would be like whenever we're returning these falses, we could log why it's false. Like we didn't receive a full path, therefore we know that we're at the like in between responses. Path length was wrong, which could be for also because we're in between, basically. Anyway, I feel like that's a bit more nice to have. It's kind of the same here. I feel like we'll eventually want those, but I don't know if that's what we'll want them to do. I'm going to leave it for now. We could take this out. I pretty much just had that print there, even like just before I put any of the code in. We could take out the timing prints, I guess. Inside is device present. Okay, found device at. Let's fix that. Where's that coming from? Found device at format device path. Device path. I think we just change it. Let's just say here, we know we're using BLE workflow, so we're just gonna go device path equals the MAC address. Yeah, and that's before it prints, so then it should print the MAC address. Back and forth. Yeah, it does show connect. Do you see that? So it shows connected and then it disconnects when it succeeds. I wonder if there's something to that. I wonder if we're not. So like I would have assumed that the with context handler that the client creation is inside of, I would have assumed that that would call disconnect. But I guess I also don't know, like this says connected or disconnected. Does it mean connected and disconnected in the same sense as the code in here? Or does it mean paired? That's a possibility, actually. Yeah. That's a possibility. Because we have... So we are creating a bleak client here using with. My assumption is that that would be calling connect. Automatically connects and disconnects. Oh, they don't like doing an address here. I love how we have, there are several known issues with doing this, but we just didn't point you to any of them? Or is that what this is going to say? I mean, because these are different. Are these different bullet points? No, I guess that is, these are. Okay, yeah, I was getting ahead of myself. These are literally what I was just... So it does not provide access. Providing an address or UUID instead of a BLE device causes a connect method to implicitly call scanner.discover. That's known to cause problems when you're trying to connect to multiple devices at the same time. Okay. At some point, I would like to look into I'd like to look into a way to not pass the MAC address and have it do a scan, and then if it finds a CircuitPython BLE workflow device in the scan and it only finds one of them, then it will use that one and you won't have to know the MAC address, although it will print it out for you, so it'll tell you the MAC address. But I don't think that's what I want to do right this instant. I think the next thing that I actually want to work on now is the read file. So lister seems to be working. You know, on my particular hardware, it's a bit weird because I'm doing this. So it said disconnected and then connected. Okay, so that was our connection to get our version. You know, one thing that might be good is if we could, like... Maybe we shouldn't use the with context. I want to try... Yeah, I'm going to try this. What happens if we don't use with? So what... I don't know if that's... Do I need to... Does it... Would the... when this leaves the context, would it call unpair? Or do we think it would just call disconnect? I'm gonna work under the assumption that it would probably just call disconnect. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try keeping the client. I'm gonna try to create the client and then keep it and try to use it again. So we'll create it when we get the version, and then we'll use it again when we do the lister. And then whenever we're actually done, then we'll disconnect at the end of our command. I'm gonna make a property, def property client. If self._client is none, we create it. Self._client equals this. Address is self.address. I don't know why. Honestly, that should just be self.address inside of here too, but I think there's no need to necessarily pass it there. I don't know. Well, I'm gonna leave it for now because eventually when I do the discover, I think it's gonna refactor how all the addresses get passed around anyway. Okay, so when you call the client property, it's going to try to get self underscore client. If it's none, it's going to create the client, which is going to make the connection. And then if it's not none, it will just give it to you. But we don't actually really want else. We just want to do that always. So if it's none, we create it, and then we return it. And if it's not none, then we won't create it, but we will still return it. Okay, so now is device present? We're going to go here, and instead of this with, we're going to go... We are going to do what? We're just going to get rid of that. We are going to bring this back. We don't have client.pair anymore, so instead it's going to be self.client.pair. Maybe we should pair inside of here. Actually, I kind of... Well, that's awaiting, though. I mean, we might need to be doing our... We were awaiting... Okay, hold on. Async with. We're gonna need async, actually. We're gonna need async. Async def connect BLE. Okay, so we create it in here. Client.pair. So create it and pair all at once. That's in our async def connect BLE. If that's none, we're gonna go asyncio.run connect BLE, which will get that there, connect, pair, do all this good stuff. So now here we get rid of the with and the asyncio, we get rid of the result. We bring this stuff to the left, which we did already. Then this says await self.client. And then it does all that stuff. Okay. Then in lister, we do something similar. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Bring this stuff back. And then we go self.client. Self.client. And yeah, so that's on the back end. So what I'm going to do is at the end of the command, the very end of like ls.cli, after it has done everything, then we'll go context.object backend.client.disconnect. We might need try catch, we might need some stuff, I don't know, we'll see. Connect was never awaited. Are we supposed to await async IO run? No, you don't await that one. So we created an async function, and then our synchronous function called asyncio.run, and it passed in the calling of our async function. Which is the same thing we're doing here. Async run cannot be called from a running event loop. I guess we might need that. I don't think that's the solution to our actual problem, though, is it? So I am not understanding what is fundamentally different about the fact that so client is a non-async function which contains an async function, and inside of client we call asyncio.run the async function. Are we supposed to pass it like this? No. I don't understand why that doesn't work. I mean, we can't do that, can we? Maybe we could do that, I guess. I don't think that works either, though. Wait, outside of AC. See, we can't do that. So, do we need to make this async? And that doesn't like this anymore. Routine was not awaited. I don't think we want client to be async. And so if client's not async, then we can't use await on this. And I really thought that was the answer. That seemed to be working the way the code was before. But now we get connect BLE was never awaited from this line. Coroutine was never awaited. Alright, I gotta run to the restroom again, so BRB. Running coroutine. Okay, that looks like the same thing we're doing, so hopefully that's gonna help us. Okay. When you call an awaitable function, you create a new coroutine object. The code inside the function won't run until you then await the code. This might be the key right here. So before we were using an async context manager, which I guess I did not realize was special. I thought the context manager was only just handling the connect and disconnect of the client object. So that needs to be await. Does not seem like it. But it was, okay, can I see an example of bleak client that doesn't use with? Bleak client example without with. This is not going to be what I want. Maybe we have to. Maybe there's no... Are there any... Is that optional? Maybe you're not allowed to use it otherwise. I really don't want to use it in the context manager, though, because I really want to put it on self. Because I really want to see if it's, like, a lot faster if we keep the connection alive instead of... Yeah, and I mean, the thing we saw earlier made it seem like it was optional. Here we go. Okay. Async def main client. It just says equals address. It's just fine. Oh, we are not calling connect though, so there is that. Okay, and then finally disk. Okay. Okay, so we're not calling connect. That's one thing. So we would certainly need to do that before we connect, paired rather. But this is still gonna fail the same way because we haven't changed fundamentally the fact that it does not like this for some reason. Because we're not even getting inside of there, right? Before print inside, we're not getting inside there. Yeah. So it just doesn't want to do this async IO run here. Why though? That's so weird. It's working the same way here. Of course, I'm sure this one's broken at this point because I took out the context handler. But why does async IO run? BLE lister. Why does this work? Why did this work before? And this doesn't. It's the same thing, basically. Async def? Async def. And I mean, the only other thing is like property, but this cannot be the difference, right? There's no way that makes a difference. Please tell me. We need to find everywhere we used client. Those are already having an await. What was that? Everywhere we use client actually already has await. Maybe we could make client async, I guess? Didn't I try that earlier? Same thing. Never awaited. Well, if we just call it. Something different happened. Okay, let me put this back to a property. I don't think, in spite of the fact that it changed somewhat after that, I think getting rid of await is the thing that fixed it. So let's run this. Do we get the same thing? Okay, same thing, yes, none. Function, no, function has no. Oh, because I didn't put property back. Yeah, property. Okay. None type has no. So I think now the problem is client needs to needs to actually do this. But this is probably not going to work. Is it going to work? I don't know. I don't think that's going to work. Yeah. Didn't await it. Wait, outside of async. I mean, do we... Now we're infinite looping and having the same error, which is now it says never awaited. So, okay, we can't await this unless we make client async. Maybe we'll do, but we'll see. Can't await it unless we make client async. So we can't do await. So if we run it without await, it says we connect BLE was never awaited. So you didn't use await, and that's a problem. But we can't use await, as we saw in the last one. And then the only other thing that I would know to do is this, and this says... Also, that's an why? I don't know why that's an infinite loop now. I guess because of this. Yeah. So theoretically, I guess we would check the timeout here as well. Okay, but if we async IO run, we get this. Runtime can't be called from a running loop, and then we get never awaited. So I guess really like we have to pretty much do this. But then we still fail because we never awaited client. I don't even know why we never awaited client. Like we literally, it says await self.client, but that's neither here nor there. I don't even know. I don't know if property and async really play nicely together. I don't recall ever seeing that before. So this somehow this is changing what it returns. This is making it so it's basically not returning the backend anymore. Wait, it should have never been returning the backend. It should have been returning the bleak client. That seems to be making it so it's not. Or at least the IDE can't tell that it is. I mean, this isn't gonna work. This is gonna work. Same thing. Client never rated. Coroutine has no thing. So when I run it, the interpreter thinks the same thing as the IDE, so that's good. Okay. Back to property. Back to not async. And we just return client, no matter what, nothing else. So now somebody needs to connect before the first client read, which will be technically this one that happens inside his device present. And since we're going to be calling disconnect from out here, kind of inclined to say maybe we should be calling connect from out here as well. So maybe inside main, when we create this, maybe we do connect right here and then backend.client equals the connected client. But I think that's gonna wreck everything because this is not async, and I don't think it will work because that one is. I kind of dislike context managers, if I'm honest. Context managers, I feel like, really complicate this problem of having a resource that requires opening and closing and having it live longer than one function. I think so. Let's see here. I don't think. They just create that. So client equals that. It's not self anymore. It's just it's actually BLE Mac. And then it's also just timeout as well. I mean, maybe we should do this before we create the backend. I mean, if we do fail to connect, then we don't really need the backend. Maybe the backend should accept a client. That could be one way to do it. That could be one way to do it, maybe. But I don't think this is gonna work. Oh. So I mean, even in this case, it's not using the with context, but it's still not actually doing what I really want to do, which is connect in one function and then stay connected and then use other functions while it's connected and then eventually later disconnect at the end when we're done after we've done everything. So we await connect and then we pair. But that's now just client, and then let's just try returning client. Async function connect will do the connection, create the client, connect the client, pair the client, return the client. And then here, so, but we can't, it's not gonna work. Can't get it out of there. How? Because we can't say like client equals, like I don't think we can do this, can we? It's not gonna return to us. It's also awkward that we're setting it from out here, but I'm shocked that that did not crash. I assume it's stuck in an infinite loop somewhere. Actually, I mean, it didn't find it, but other than that, it effectively behaved pretty much how we expected. Or at least how it was earlier. So if I just give it a backseat fourthsy and then run it, could we like succeed, or was it actually looking? It was looking, and now attribute. Can't set attribute client. Okay, so we connected. And then the problem now is this is a property. Property, so we don't even really, I mean, if we're doing it this way, we don't even really need a property. Honestly, though, we should probably just pass it in to the constructor. Bleak client. Copy that, go into there. Bleak client. Just say client equals bleak client. Then the rest of that we'll use self.client. We can get rid of property. We can get rid of this stuff. Okay, hold on. Let me not delete this stuff yet. In fact, let me keep this and comment that. Feeling we're going to be wanting to undo some stuff here. So we failed because task running at got future pending attached to a different loop. That sounds bad. And now I just changed a bunch of codes so the line numbers don't work anymore. Oh, okay. I should have looked at the top. It says pair was never awaited. We weren't awaiting pair in the original version, were we? Oh, we were. Okay. Well, fair enough. Where's that? That's back out here now. I'm surprised this returning thing works. I did not think that was gonna work. We're not actually doing anything with this result. I mean, that would be a thing to spit to the logger, maybe, but... Okay. So now we don't have that first error anymore, but we do still have the second half of the stack trace. Looks basically the same. Which I don't understand. Future pending attached to different loop. When we asked for the version number, yeah, I'm pretty sure that means that our connect and everything is not actually working. It's not crashing anymore on the connect and the await and stuff, but it's not actually working either. Runtime error. It says task, and then it has an open caret, and it basically goes all the way to here. No, because there's another open caret there. So that one goes here, and the first one goes actually all the way to here. So this task got future pending attached to different loop. I'm not using threads. Hmm. So I'm not using cues. I mean, basically, this feels like it boils down to client was created another task. You're not allowed to use it in this task. So basically, not really allowed to do what I want. Seems like. At least not in this way. Maybe can we try Python? Anything specific to that? No. Just at least leak scanner. By Dan. Okay. New event loop in a new thread, and then it passes that loop to Bleak Scanner. In the real code, we need another thread to allow scanning results turn to be incrementally to the caller. Program runs fine under Linux, BlueS, Mac OS. Is it an error? It's very odd. Doesn't seem to imply that something is routed correctly. So handling of loops. I don't understand what this is about. We saw that come out earlier. Huh. I don't know. Okay. I kind of get the sense that it doesn't want to work this way. Let me make a branch from here. www shell BLE keep client. And let me commit. Trying keep client. And then let's go back to here. Let's get it back to where it was working. Because we have strayed pretty far from the path at this point. So, okay, we want to get rid of Oh no. I never committed before I did any of that stuff, so now everything is gone. Alright. So we're gonna merge this in, and then we're gonna undo the keep client stuff. Okay. I think this is where it was working. Fingers crossed. I really should have committed when it was working last. It's my bad. Back and forth, maybe? Just connected, disconnected, connected. Oh. Didn't I commit? Are we still? We need to get rid of the connect out here, right? We're not, and we need to get rid of the passing. Okay, get rid of this. Get rid of this. And even just get rid of this. Client. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. All right, so now we're back to just creating local variable client. Local variable client with the await. With the with context, I mean. All right, we got the version, but seems like we got none. Let me just try it again, I guess. Same thing. I don't know what's this about. Sleep is not awaited. So, I mean, this was definitely working at one point. Why did I not commit? All of these are negative now. We weren't seeing that before, I don't think. So fast. It's not waiting. Didn't I... Did I have one that... Was it just sleep? Didn't we just do time.sleep? Is that when it was working? Why would it have changed back? Oh, I really wish I would have committed when it was working. Gonna be calling disconnect. We're not even getting that far though. Well, are we? Maybe we are. Well, no, we're not, because we were failing here. How's it going, John J, I mean, my bad. Sorry, I had the Twitch chat covered for a minute. You made it to await connect BLE. This was possibly from a while ago. Yeah, sorry, I've been stuck in my world, my own little world here, not paying attention to the chat. One thing I never played with, including 2 async mains, 2 loops. So I know there's async IO gather, which I think lets you do maybe 2 loops. At this, and again, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly when you said all of this stuff. It was probably back when I was still trying to head the other way. At this point, though, I'm just trying to get back to where I was. And where I was, I had only a single... Well, each command had its own async IO thing inside of it. So the version check is working. The version check is working, and then the lister seems to be pretty much working, but it's returning too early. The logic for the return is broken. We're not receiving any data. I'm also still suspicious of this E-6. Is that really small? Or is that 6 seconds and a really long decimal? I don't know. What is that? Will Python just print me that? I don't think it will, right? It will just be E. Yeah, that's not helpful at all. Yeah, I have no idea what number that is. If it's really small, then I think that's telling us we're not weighting correctly. Is this getting called? Wait a minute. Okay. This is not supposed to be recursive. This should not be calling itself. Hey, my indention's broken. Lister. All of this, I think, should be back. Yeah. So now there's totally a question of, was this correct like this? And I mean, even before it didn't have a weight. A weight outside, so we can't have a weight. Oh man, please work. Okay, 15 seconds on the version. Before lister. I have the callback handler. Okay. I was like, I have the callback handler print on too, and we're not seeing anything. I was getting worried. 23 seconds, but we did eventually start getting the callbacks. And we did actually complete it successfully. My word, thank goodness. Okay, first things first. Turn the print back off right now. and run it one more time to make sure that it works and it doesn't print too much stuff, and then commit. And then remember the pain that we felt for not committing, and next time let it be a lesson to commit as soon as your thing works correctly, or even if it works like almost correctly or almost works, just commit. That way you can't lose your work. Nice. 18.99 seconds. We could get rid of that. Let me do that. That's another thing we don't need. Files. All right, one more time. One thing we should test, actually, after this, I'll try a different directory. Boy. Trying to stress test it, huh? So this has always just been doing root because that's the default. Theoretically, we should be able to say like ls something else, and then should work, hopefully. Let's see. We could probably take these out, the before and after. $20.99. ls, so let's try /lib. Okay. $19 seconds, and that is in fact the contents of the libdir. Nice. All right. I think that might be all I've got for right now. I'm very happy to get this back to actually working. As far as we have, no worries. Sorry, you've set things back too far. Didn't think about pronunciation when I came up with John J. I usually just go with John O. John O. I could do that. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm happy to get this back to working. Did I commit yet? I did not even commit yet. I did not even follow my own golden advice. That's terrible. Okay, I'm going to commit right now, and then I'm going to wrap it up. This is... I'll just call this implement ls. Go to foamy guy, run w shell BLE. All right, so we do that. All right, there we are. I am gonna wrap it up now. Thank you to everyone who watched. John O on Twitch, nice to see you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. If you're around still, Jacob McKenzie over on YouTube, thanks for tuning in, checking it out. I'll be back on Saturday at the normal time, pretty sure. 10 a.m. Central Time. And yeah, hope you have a good week. Until then, I will see you later. Thanks for hanging out.